Hey guys, Lemmy here and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be sharing a few stories from my youth involving artists who have scammed others. There is also a bit of confusion with some of my younger viewers on what art scams or scam artists actually are and if they're a scam artist themselves. And just to clear that up, a scam artist is essentially a con artist. A person that makes a false promise or offer to another person, presenting the deal to be a legitimate one. If we look at this through the lens of the art community, usually it's an artist who will take money from others and then not deliver what is promised. So think of like prints from a store or commissions or something like that. The artist will keep the money and the customer never receives anything in return for that money. On the flip side of that, an artist can be scammed by the buyer as well. If the artist creates a piece of art for them, gives it to the buyer, but never gets paid for all the work they put into it. There can also be scams that don't involve financial gain. So art trades is a major one of those. Two artists make a deal to create a picture for one another. One artist follows through making a custom piece of artwork, and then the other artist takes that image and never gives a picture in return. Essentially, if you make a deal with someone and do not uphold your end of the bargain, but the other person does, you can be looked at as a scammer. But fear not, younger viewers. If both artists in an art trade don't complete their halves of the trade, it's totally fine because it's a wash. Meaning neither party was harmed or came out above the other, so at most you're both kind of unreliable. Same goes with commissions. If you're never paid for a piece and you don't complete it, no party is harmed in that transaction and it's totally fine. As for my own personal experiences, I've been scammed once before. In my previous video, Art Thieves vs. Scam Artists, I talked about the one time I got scammed and I lost about $30 to another artist. If you want to hear that story, you can head over to that video and watch that one. But today I'm going to be talking about my own experiences with other artists that I've known personally who have scammed people. So right now I bet some of you are like, OMG, Lemmy is friends with scam artists? What is wrong with you? Why are you friends with them? And to answer that question, simply, life isn't so black and white. I'm about to tell 3 different stories that kind of explains this a bit further. Story number 1 is about a friend of mine from when I was about 20 years old. She was an online friend and we'll call her Melanie. Melanie was around 26 at the time this happened and she was pretty wellish known on DeviantArt with quite a nice following going for herself consisting of maybe a few thousand people. She sold commissions to help pay her bills as she had a husband and a son, but also an unreliable employment history and unreliable source of income. Melanie was best friends with this online girl who we'll call Patty. Now, Patty thought Melanie had the best art around and they were super close. Every time Melanie had another big bill to pay, she would go into crisis mode, plastering her end-all life situation on her DeviantArt journal, and without fail, her friend Patty would commission her to do some artwork for her. Unfortunately, Melanie and Patty had a very rocky relationship. At certain points in Patty's life, she was dating some people, which caused her to treat Melanie a little different, and then it caused some friction in their friendship, and Melanie often complained that Patty was too clingy and too involved in her own personal life. But yet another bill would pop up that Melanie could just not afford to pay, and Patty was there commissioning her yet again. So this time, Patty asked Melanie to draw her a picture of the two of them together as chibis. Soon after the money was transferred, Melanie and Patty got into another rather large fight. Melanie told me about it and how she never wanted to speak to Patty ever again and has gone as far to block her from all of her social media accounts and instant messaging accounts. There was no way for Patty to contact Melanie anymore. But Melanie had Patty's money. So I, being the nosy friend, was like, hey Melanie, it's probably gonna be kinda weird to draw Patty's commission now. seeing as how you're not really her friend anymore. So, have you decided if you're going to complete the awkward commission or are you just going to return the money? Melanie sounded stunned when I asked her this, and she told me that she wasn't going to complete the commission. She acted like I was weird for even thinking she was going to, or that she should. She said it's her payment for listening to Patty complain for so long. Strangely enough, they forgave each other sometime later and were on talking terms again. So how is this a story of a scam, you say? Well, Patty never did receive that picture or a refund. The artist, Melanie, decided to keep the money without completing the work. As for my relationship with Melanie, we didn't stay friends for much longer. I often asked Melanie to consider her actions and how they impacted others, and she flat out refused, saying that she didn't want to feel bad about herself. So with her being 6 years older than I was, this really aggravated me to no end. We ended up getting into a fight and I quit speaking to her for many years. So years later, she did come back and apologize to me and I accepted it, but things were never the same and we just don't speak anymore. Story number 2 is about a girl we'll call Becca. Becca was a working-age girl who lived with her father. Her dad was a single parent, and despite him working a full-time job, he was having a difficult time paying for his bills and the home that they lived in. At a certain point, his landlord told him that he was going to be evicted if he did not come up with a month's rent within 1 week's time. Now, I have no idea if this is legal or not, and that's a totally different story, but anyway, Becca decided that she would hold an emergency sale on her DeviantArt account. She would draw whatever you wanted in exchange for money so that she could help keep her home that she and her father lived in. I mean, it was really nice. So many people banded together and commissioned Becca to draw their characters or fan art of their favorite characters. Becca promised each person that their pictures would be mailed to them after the money was raised. So, Becca received commissions from some of her closest online friends, but there was a time limit. She needed to make that money in 1 week, so she quickly went through each commission as fast as she possibly could. And it was obvious that these pictures weren't as good quality as the ones that she normally drew. She finished the pictures, and her father got to stay in their home. Sounds good, right? So how in the world could this be a scam? It wasn't but a few days after that she began to upload pictures onto Facebook, showcasing a bunch of new art supplies. So many that you would think hey, art haul videos. So there was new art supplies, there were new toys, and new imported special foods that she had bought. Our mutual friends began coming to me with their concerns about Becca. Did Becca really need that money? The many items she was purchasing were definitely not cheap. She didn't make enough money to pay the entire rent for that month. How could she be buying these goods on top of it all? Not only that, how could you stay in a home if you never made enough money to cover the rent payment? Each person who came to me also told me that they did not even like the pictures that they received. They said it was too rushed and that it was lacking the quality of her other pieces. Not only that, people weren't receiving their pictures in the mail like they were promised. Nobody in that group of friends wanted to be the person to come forth and criticize Becca because, what if, after all of that, she actually was about to lose her home? Who would want to be the person to criticize someone who was about to become homeless? Each person overlooked their own happiness and continued on, never quite trusting Becca again. And the kicker was that many of the people who did come to me, not all of them, but some of them said that they only commissioned her because they were worried about her losing a home. It's not that they really wanted a piece of artwork from her. As for my friendship with Becca, things became rocky with her. she would frequently change her story and nothing really quite added up. I mean, Becca was a really interesting girl and I really did like parts of her personality, but the whole air of dishonesty about her really interfered with me being able to have a close relationship with her. So this friendship essentially really slowly died out, and now we never speak anymore. And for my third and final story, this one takes place relatively recently. It's about another artist here on YouTube, and no, I won't give names, but this artist is popular. Like, I'd assume you've heard of him or her because they have like over 100,000 subscribers type of popular. So anyway, my friend, we'll call him Paul. Paul really liked this artist, and we'll call the artist, I don't know, something like really generic, like Creation Draws, right? So Paul just absolutely adored Creation Draws. Like any other artist, Creation Draws sells art online. Paul, loving Creation Draws, commissioned Creation to, create an image for them, and Creation took the money and said, "I'll do it." So time went by, and the commission was never sent. And Paul became concerned and emailed Creation. You know, like, "Hey, Creation, how's it going? I know you're super busy, but I just wanted to make sure I'm still, like, on your commission list, you know, because I never got it, and I wanted to make sure you knew I was still alive." So Creation responded, and they said something along the lines of they hadn't gotten around to it, but they're still gonna do it. Months go by. Paul once again becomes concerned. It's obvious with a YouTube channel, Creation isn't dead. Creation uploads, and Creation, creates artwork. So why has Creation never completed their commission? Paul sends Creation another message. According to what Paul has told me, it was more of the same from the first message. And so he waited again. Months went by, and then he came to me. At this point, it was well over a year and many months, or maybe even 2 years, since he commissioned this artist. Paul explained the situation to me, and then told me that he felt like he was harassing the artist. What should he do? He already sent the money over PayPal, and this was way too long ago for him to get a refund on his money. And I told Paul that he should message Creation again and explain his concerns and asked for a refund. I also told Paul that he shouldn't be surprised if he never gets his commission or the refund in the end. I also offered to help Paul by contacting Creation directly, and perhaps that will help fix his problem. To the best of my knowledge, Paul has still never received his commission. He also never took me up on my offer to help him. And yeah, if you're wondering, no, I'm not friends with Creation Draws. I've actually been friendly with that person, but I don't know them very well. The moral of this video is that scam artists come in many sizes and shapes. Some artists have a few thousand followers, some have under 1,000, and others have over 100,000. Some scammers are strangers, but some can also be the people you trust the most, your friends. It's not okay to take money or something from a person without giving what you promised in return. I don't care how a person twists it. If you got into a fight with someone or not, you owe them something in return for the money that they gave you. It's equally as bad if you mislead other people into thinking you need the money in order to get commissions. And I really hate dishonest people, like with a passion. So don't be a Melanie, don't be a Becca, and don't be a Creation Draws. I'm going to wrap up this video with a few quick tips. Hopefully this will help some of you guys out there avoid being taken advantage of. Please be sure that when you pay for commissioned artwork online that you do not exceed the 2-month buyer protection time period if you purchase the art with PayPal. Also, if your buyer protection is about to expire, contact PayPal for a refund. You can always resend the money to the artist, but you can't always receive a refund. If you're doing an art trade, I recommend not uploading your half of the trade first. It's pretty common for art trades to fall through, unfortunately. Like I said, not everyone is the most reliable. But if you wait until the other person has committed and created the image, you can then put in the same amount of time and effort making an image in return. If you're impatient and want to start on your half now, you can do that. But I don't recommend uploading until the other person has completed their half. If the other artist never completes their half, at least they never receive a free image. If you're sad about wasting your time, my advice is that you're spending that time improving your artwork. So in the end, it wasn't a complete waste of time and energy. This last bit of advice is for artists selling their work. Do not even start the artwork until you receive a partial payment from your buyer. This way you won't be wasting your time. The worst thing you can do is take the time to create an image, upload it, and never see any money for all of the effort. Don't get involved with creating an artwork for a customer until they have given you a down payment at the very least. I hope that you guys found these tips to be helpful. If you guys have any experiences with art scammers yourself, please let me know in the comments section down below. I really do love reading the stories you guys write. I find them to be really interesting. As always, you guys take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys again next week for another art video.
Actually, that's kind of cool. Sort of. I mean, if I didn't paint that white, it wouldn't be so cool, but neat.